A beautiful day on your public relations program, Your Image. Today, big issue of concern, and we are going to analyze in your own interest. It is an issue that is of great concern to humanity, and it's also a great concern to developmental issues in Nigeria and all over the world. The topic is the culture of silence in issues management, the public relations implication. Starting with my noble guest, a lawyer and a human rights activist. I have with me Barrister Kayode Aderemi, and we're going to have one-on-one conversation until the other guests join us. I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Delighted to be here too.
Thank you. You have changed. It's like Nigeria is good to you.
This is change era. Next level change.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, the topic, the culture of silence in issues management. What implications to the society? Well, let me give you a prelude to the issue. It is of concern that there are very many developments that needed our voice, which everybody is keeping mute, or let me say majority is keeping mute, feeling unconcerned. And that affects us politically, it affects us socio-economically, it affects growth, corporate in essence, and it also affects the national growth. It affects contemporary development, that is meeting standards with the foreign organizations, international bodies, and the like. You can continue to mention that. Barrister, you are a lawyer and also a human rights activist. Let me also introduce him. He is also the CEO or founder of Crusaders of Freedom's Initiative. I'm glad to know that you are lending a voice to our cries.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, issues of the majority being in silence. Is this of great concern to you?
Well, absolutely yes. It is. Okay. It is. I mean, if for nothing, there's an adage in Yoruba that says that "Eni to badake, tia badake." That's what Yoruba say. Meaning that for those that don't understand Yoruba, that means that whoever has a problem and chooses to keep quiet, most likely the problem will be, so a problem discussed or mentioned could be half solved or something close to it.
So what is the cost implication when we have a situation where the minority are taking the lead and the majority are just keeping mute, feeling unconcerned? And if you look at it, what are the political costs? Let's start from there.
Well, interestingly, my view about that could be largely unpopular in Nigeria.
Why?
The reason is because I actually did a study of how democracy, so-called, came to be and how it evolved to what we have today. So for starters, what we practice in Nigeria, I've said it many times, is a far cry from democracy. This is not a democracy, really, because democracy is basically a government of the majority. If it were a democracy, the question you asked me, sir, would not have come up. Why is it that the minority is taking the lead, majority is silent? That means it's a reversal of what is what is supposed to be, or what is supposed to be, what ought to obtain. So that has been a template, and it's quite worrisome. And the problem is that's why we have a lot of disgruntled people. All right, we have agitations in all regions of the country. We have some people blasting themselves up in the north. We have agitations, we have killings in the east recently. We have someone like Sunday Igboho from the west here. So all over, we have killings, even in the Middle Belt, Benue and Kogi and the likes, a lot of abduction and the likes. So such things happen, you see that they happen simultaneously. And of course, I'm a student of history. When such things happen, it's because there has been a lot of bottled up grievances. People have not spoken for quite a long time, all right? And the way they get to express themselves is they could vent anger, all right? They could begin to have groups. We have the NDA too, the Niger Delta Avengers. So people just have things they're not okay with, and that happens most times when the voice of the majority is suppressed.
We just talked about the political situation. We also have, I have some case studies that reveal that even in the health sector, we have a situation where nurses keep mute on about 90% of cases that they should have talked about concerning the way physicians handle cases. And we also have a case study that gives us that about 93% of workers will always keep mute on issues within the corporate entity, not until an accident happens. They will have seen the accident, but they will never talk about it. What can we attribute to that?
Well, thank you. Well, a number of factors could be responsible for that. And one of them is not having enough jobs. The president of Nigeria spoke at a particular forum sometime recently, I think it should be this year, where he said that there is no more job at the federal, state, and local government levels. Imagine that kind of statement.
What is the responsibility of government?
Of course, Chapter 2 of Nigeria's Constitution contains what we call directive principles of state policy. What that means is what government ought to be doing. Yeah. So security of life, sanctity of lives, and the likes ought to be the government's responsibility. Yeah, but there we have our president coming out to say, on a national or even international forum that we are sorry, Nigerian youths, no job for you anymore, all right? Although he was saying that because he wanted people to look at other options.
To be creative.
Yeah, exactly. So put in context, I mean, to be fair to him. So, but that doesn't take away the reality that he was trying to say that there's no job, but that's the fact. So what that translates to is that if you are, for example, an employee, and you have seen something you are not okay with, and you voice out, someone could be victimized. For some, it could end them a query. For some, it could end them even expulsion. For some, it could be outright dismissal. For some, suspension. So things may happen. So for fear, and people know that if they are, for example, retrenched or sacked, getting another job will be difficult. So they just keep quiet. What the legendary fella said, suffering and...
Smiling. That is not supposed to be the situation. A corporate entity is supposed to be an environment where dialogue will thrive, where relationship will blossom, and where creative thinking will come about. So if we have a situation where people are now afraid to talk, it then means the corporate entity will not grow, and the result will be that there will be retardation. I agree to the point that you said there will be consequence, but having it not grow may not be the case. Well, if you say grow is relative, grow in what sense? If it's for someone that is a die-hard capitalist, for example, okay, all I want is my profit. I have seen employers like that. They give little or no chance to get feedbacks or grievances from their employees. Well, that is
they dish out.
What? As a human rights activist, that is your place to come with some visionary steps that will reposition
it is when they bring issues to us that we can respond to. We will not begin to poke our nose into people's
let's leave the political
exactly. So so I was saying that there could be profits, there could be increase. We have people like that. You talk, I fire you, all right? So they focus on their, profits. However, those workers often may not give their best because they would be dissatisfied about certain things that they're not talking about.
Definitely. Well, it is the culture of silence in issues management. What are the implications within our economy? What are the implications socially? What are the implications when it has to do with having an environment that is conducive, that is promoting peace, security, and well-being of the people? I'd like to go back to the issue of economy. When there is silence, for example, let me illustrate. You are a Nigerian and you have seen how prices of products and services are skyrocketing.
Very well.
And it is with impunity that the capitalists, the sole proprietors, companies are now operating. How do we check this menace? I call it a menace because it is something that should not be happening.
The culture of silence, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yes, well.
Where we allow everybody to be operating with impunity, prices skyrocketing, products standard coming lower.
The way to do it is for, simply and purely speaking, the government to regulate. If, for example, today I drive into a PMS or fuel station and I tell them, like in Abeokuta, Ogun State, I want to buy PMS or fuel, and they tell me it is 200 naira per liter. Okay. I could challenge them. Why? Because I know that that has gone beyond the threshold set by the government. Okay. All right. But if someone tells me that, approaches a lawyer, for example, and the lawyer says, I'm charging you maybe 50 million or 10 million as my charges, can I complain? No, because there is no regulation of any sort in that regard.
Should we have that kind of situation? Does government not have control in regulating prices, even though we are saying that it's a free economy?
Well, what I think the government should regulate are basic things in society. Of course, not services. Okay. Like the food you've talked about. Have you wondered why GBP, Great Britain pounds, have remained the strongest currency for decades?
Why?
As we speak. Of course, things are regulated over there. It's difficult. You can get to the market today. Someone told me, for example, that yesterday he bought a bag of rice for 25,000 naira. Just yesterday. Don't be shocked, sir, if next week the same person, a different person, approaches the market and gets it for 35,000 naira. So we see a lot of, fluctuations like that.
Such imbalances, fluctuations, and the like, must it be accommodated?
No, the government has to come in to regulate. The government has to first determine what are the basic amenities. That's why fuel is kind of regulated. Or we used to have PPRA, those that would go into fuel stations to ensure that their measures and weights are okay, all right? So things like that, food ought to be there, because food is, whether you are poor, you are rich, you are fat, small, tall, short, whatever, black, white, you must eat. So food is so basic. But where it is not regulated, we begin to have things like this. Anybody can just choose to sell.
Regulation is necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It is your image, your public relations program on television. The topic is the culture of silence in issues management, the public relations implication. How are we affected? How should the majority of us be keeping silent when we need to lend voice to certain inequalities, to certain inappropriateness? Well, I have with me again one of my guests, Comrade Yinka Folarin. He's also a human rights activist. You have been listening to us. You are welcome.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening our viewers all over the places.
The culture of silence, particularly with the majority. What's your own opinion? Where have you found ourselves to be in this situation?
Well, it's quite unfortunate that Nigerians or let me say majority of Nigerians are docile. Once they are comfortable, once they have the power to satisfy anyone, they care less about other factors. And that is why you would see that even when you are being cheated right to your face, they will tell you, oh, you are a big man, why should you be fighting over peanuts? Whereas that peanut you decide to shy away from will definitely have a bad reflection in the society, because what it means is that you are saying, oh, all is well, go on. Just like there was a scenario I witnessed in one of the filling stations around Ifo, where a woman was actually cheated. She went to buy fuel, and she's been buying the fuel in a vehicle all this while, but she suspected a foul play and went ahead and said, okay, I want to buy a 10 liter of fuel, and paid for 10 liter, not even by the amount, 10 liter per day. And unfortunately, she didn't get more than 6.5 liters, and she said, no way, we must sort this out today. Where is the manager? Where is this? Where is that? Only for them to later start persuading her and begging her that, oh, we are going to look into it. If I let us sell, we are going to give you extra. The woman said, no, I want to know what is behind. I want to know the intention behind you trying to cheat. And can you imagine how many Nigerians they've been cheating through that? And that is the society we have found ourselves. But if most Nigerians have been standing up for their rights and standing up to correct the ills in the society, I'm sure things like that will be brought to.
What do you think are the reasons for the majority keeping silent?
Well, I would say that is the condition of is a factor that they have lost interest even in their own society. Because like someone will tell you, oh, anything about Nigeria, anything is possible. In fact, majority want to buy their way, shortcuts. Anything outside shortcuts is no way to majority of Nigerians. So that factor, and the government is not also helping matter, in the sense that most of our policies are not they are not genuine, they are not practical in nature. You can imagine, let me take for instance the passport, the immigration stuff. For instance, you want to get a passport, the minister sometimes ago came up and said, oh, within 6 weeks you can process your passport out and everything will be okay. In fact, we have automated, everything is automated now. Apply online, don't bribe anybody at the immigration office, don't do this, don't do that. Yet, the same agency has refused to give booklets to them to produce. And at the end of the day, someone who needed to travel urgently will need to find a shortcut to buy his or her way to be part of those who can benefit from the little they have brought. So I think government has a lot of fault as far as this is concerned, and will not it will not be out of place to say that even governments and its agencies they could be seen as collaborators or conspirators in the cheating of Nigeria.
I want to come in here. Can we not say that even the citizens are part of the conspiracy? Why do I say so? Let's look at the infrastructural facilities in the country, not just in Ogun State alone. Things are so bad, roads are bad, potable water are nowhere to be found, electricity is disruptive, and so many other things. Just name them. Can we be blaming our leaders alone? What is the blame to us who are the silent majority? Of course, because I'm asking this question because we are paying tax.
Let me tell you why.
Companies are paying tax.
Let me tell you why I giggled, why I laughed.
Why?
I was reading somewhere about Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
When he was in prison. I read somewhere that it was all dark. You know, it was an isolated cell he was put.
Okay.
And someone would just keep whispering or telling him, you are not Mandela, you are not Mandela. They were trying to change,
His mentality.
not even mentality, his person.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to rob him of who he really was. That happened. Remember, he was in prison for, I think, 27 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thankfully to God and his maker, he came out and he still knew he was Mandela. And he later led, you know, South Africa. This is my point. Something can happen, something wrong can happen so long that after a long time, people will think the wrong thing is the right thing.
People will see the wrong
As a right.
thing, the right thing.
Have you noticed, for example,
How does that affect the national growth?
there was a time I took a taxi in Abeokuta recently, and someone just finished chewing sausage and flew the pack outside the window. And I said, bros, that is not okay. You are staying on our roads. Now, the boo I got was not really from that man alone. Everybody, including the driver, was like, they look at me like, are you not a Nigerian? What I said was so strange to them that what this man saying, you know, that's an example. So to them, I was the wrong person
And that is
in
my
that
fear.
scenario.
That is the fear
And that's where we have found ourselves now.
That's the fear that we are having now. When the wrong things are being judged to be right, are being seen to be the normal thing, to be normative, it is the fault of most of us.
Let me situate it into the question. When I was growing up, I saw very few boreholes. It was, as a lawyer, do you know, sir, that it is a crime to dig well without getting permission from the government? But who observes that law today? Because it has terrestrial effects. If it's too much, land can begin to cave in. But now, almost every house has either well or borehole. Why? Because the government failed to provide pipe-borne water. They should have taken water from a dam, run a big, exactly, people begin to tap from there. But because that has failed, so now, to a normal Nigerian that is under 20 years old, borehole is normal thing. In fact, if you are building a house, get your money for borehole ready.
Remember.
The wrong has now looked so right because the government has failed for too long to fix that.
I remember in those days that when we were growing up, we were seeing pipes, taps running almost in strategic places.
Very well.
We were seeing schools in almost strategic locations, and then we could track a short distance to get to wherever we are going. Well, we are going to continue this discussion next week. It is Your Image, a public relations program on TV. We have great concern. The society must change. The silent majority must have a new approach. New approach to grow us as a human being. New approach to grow the corporate citizens. New approach to change the narrative. Let us have a society that we desire, that can enhance our life. Next week, we're going to continue with this topic, and I hope you'll be with us. This program is open for sponsorship. Please be with us. You can also come up with your advert. Join us on Facebook, Pr-Primus on Facebook, Pr-Primus on Instagram, Pr-Primus on YouTube. Watch our weekly edition on YouTube. Thank you very much. Next week, I hope you, Barrister, next week I hope you join us.
By God's grace, I will.
Come Fulani.
Hopefully.
So join us next week to continue this program. Thank you.